Earlier this week, President Muhammadu Buhari performed the groundbreaking ceremony for the takeoff of the proposed Eastern Corridor Rail project, which on completion is expected to connect and enable access to strategic areas of the country. Joining us now from HRISE Abuja studio to discuss the anticipated benefits of this project, in addition to a comprehensive overview of developments in the entire transport sector, is Honorable Rotimi Amaechi, Nigeria's Minister of Transport. Welcome to the program. Good morning. Good morning, Honorable Minister. Good to have you on the morning show.
Thank you.
Should I say first, congratulations on the groundbreaking ceremony that happened this week, 2 days ago. But quickly, we would like to have an update in terms of the cost of the project, the Eastern Railway Corridor, who is going to benefit from it, who the contractors are, where we are, in terms of planning. And there were 3 projects the presidency talked about this week. There's also the railway park in Port Harcourt. There's also the Bonny deep sea port. If you could just give us an idea of the details with regard to these 3 projects.
Okay, well, first, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The project is about 1.95 or 1.96 billion dollars, and it consists of the following: the federal government, under a loan facility, will construct or reconstruct the narrow gauge from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri. There are spurs. There's a spur from Port Harcourt to Bonny, because there will be a deep sea port in Bonny. And there's a spur from Port Harcourt to Owerri to connect the capital of Imo State, which is Owerri. Then we proceed from Port Harcourt to Aba to Umuahia to Enugu. We are still trying to get the president's approval to connect Ebonyi, that's Abakaliki, and also connect Oka, I think, from the point of Enugu. Then we proceed, and that will cover the entire 6 states of the southeast. We then proceed from Enugu to Makurdi to Lafia. I think between Lafia and Jos, or between Jos and Bauchi, but I think between Lafia and Jos, there is a connection through Kafanchan to Kaduna to join the western flank of the Nigerian Railway Corporation railway line, which is standard gauge, but then we join it from that point. But we'll continue from Jos to Bauchi to Gombe. Then at Gombe, there's a spur that's heading to Damaturu, and then proceeding from Damaturu to Gashua, and then continue from Gombe again to Borno. That's what it is. The contractor is CCCC. What else did you ask? You talked about the Bonny Deep Sea Port and the
Railway Industrial Park.
The industrial park in Port Harcourt. The industrial park will generate companies that, not only companies that deal with rolling stocks and infrastructure and railway, but it also generate other companies that may want to use industrial park. The responsibility of the contractor, because that's his own investment, we are not contributing to that, and that's about $200 million, is to build infrastructures, water, power, 24-hour power supply, by the way, security, ICT, and all the infrastructure, and the companies will come to make their own investments by building offices, industrial facilities, and all that. Then going to Bonny, I've said on several occasions that Nigeria is yet to get a deep sea port, and that I've had this argument with my colleague, the Minister of Works. He believes that the port in Apapa and Tinkan are seaports, and I've argued that they are river ports. The fact that they tee off from the ocean does not make them a seaport. A seaport is found on the sea, and the first one would be the one that they're building in Lekki, which will be completed in 2022, and the second one will be the one in Bonny. The president has also given approval for another one in Warri, and then there's an approval for the Akwa Ibom State to proceed with the Ibom Deep Sea Port. So the Bonny Deep Sea Port is another investment by CCCC for about $460 million or so, or $460 million. All that will be $1.9 billion plus the $700 million. But the $700 million is not a borrowed fund. It's an investment by CCCC. I think that's in response to your question.
Right, I wanted you to talk to us about the economic importance and impact of these projects, especially talking about infrastructure as a motherboard for job creation. Let's talk about the Nigerian jobs that have been created in the design, construction, operation, and maintenance of these projects, and also technical training opportunities.
Okay, let's start with technical training opportunities. First, there are Nigerians who are already in China now, being trained by this same CCCC through Chinese universities. There are about 300 of them, and when they come back, they will join the system, and they will be in the various sectors of the Nigerian Railway Corporation infrastructures. But let's look at the economic benefit. There's, in the course of doing a feasibility study of this project, that's why I discovered there are so much natural resources on that track. Iron ore all over the northeast, coal between Benue and Enugu and all that. What this does, it provides logistics for the movement of such either natural resources or value addition at the finishing product. You have access to the sea through a cheap means of transportation. The other thing that it does is that in the course of the construction of this rail line from here to Maiduguri, about 1,400 and something kilometers, the minimum I expect that they can employ will be between 20 to 50,000 workers if they must achieve it in the speed in which we want them to achieve it. At the conclusion of construction, imagine how many number of workers you will employ at the industrial park and at the seaport. The essence of the president's investment in this project is to create employment. He hopes that we're able to grow the economy of Nigeria through transportation, create employment in the course of these infrastructures. And at the end of the construction, we expect those who do business in Nigeria to also be able to acquire land and site industries and other infrastructures along the rail corridor, because it will create for them an opportunity to be able to move their goods and services not only in a faster means, but also ways in which you don't have all those unnecessary checkpoints and time-consuming things. That's some of the benefits you will get.
Right. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, and congratulations on the groundbreaking yesterday. So from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, it's a refurbishment of the line, if I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. And secondly, I want to talk about when will Nigerian companies start making Nigerian rail lines? You know, when is that skill transfer going to be complete? You know, and probably when we will start making our own feeder stock. Because when you check all the countries in the world, you know, they make their own stock, rolling stock. You know, countries like Spain, Turkey, and the like, Stalgo, and some other companies, they make their own stock. When will Nigerian companies start making all of that? And tell me, is that line a refurbished line, or you're starting afresh from Port Harcourt to Makurdi?
We are completely going to remove the old rail line and rebuild it, completely rebuild it, because you're dealing with infrastructure. We're going to put everything new. We're going to enhance the substructure and all that. So it's not refurbished; it's reconstruction of the narrow gauge from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, and including the sports that are now added. They want to Owerri, they want to Bonny, and they want to Kaduna, and they want to Damaturu. So it's entirely a new railway line, which will be to the benefit of all those who use them. I've called about 13 states that are beneficiaries of the railway line.
Okay, when will Nigerian companies start making Nigerian rail lines?
Sorry, I forgot.
And when are they going to start producing roller stock?
Now, I forgot that question. But the pressure you created is as if all those who use railway have started their own technology of producing rolling stock. No, a lot of people still depend on most countries who are experts at it. But what we've done is the huge investment we're making. We don't want people to dump their technology on us and just depart. So what we've done at Kajola, close to Lagos, we have requested again under social responsibility for CCCC to build a factory, which they are building now. I should be able to go there this March to inspect what is happening at that site. They are building a factory that will help in the production of rolling stock. But first, they will start by assembling. That's the agreement. I will review that agreement before I leave the Ministry of Transport. What we have in the agreement is that for 5 years, they will be assembling rolling stocks there. So they will assemble locomotives. No, they will start by assembling wagons. That's what we agreed, because according to them, it's very expensive to assemble coaches and locomotives. So they will start by assembling wagons. We give them a contract to supply us with about, I can't remember how many wagons we expect them to supply, about 200 wagons. But we said only 15% should be constructed or fabricated in China. The rest, 75%, or is it 85%, should be produced in Nigeria. So that factory will assemble the remaining parts, the remaining wagons, which means by the time we start from the Apapa Seaport, we will use the old wagons that we have and the new 15% of the 100% of the wagon contract that we give to CCCC, believing that the remaining 85% will be constructed in Nigeria. That is to enable Nigerians to understudy them while they are assembling it. And we say at the end of 5 years, there will no more be assemblage. They will not transfer to manufacturing, that fabricating rolling stocks, wagons and other rolling stocks here. We'll encourage them with time that wagons will not be enough. We would want to also produce locomotives and coaches in Nigeria, which certainly will be done with our Nigerian engineers, believing that in the next 10-15 years, Nigeria should be able to produce its own locomotives, coaches and wagons when our engineers understand what is going on there.
Well, Minister, you have your hands full. Lagos, Ibadan, Kano to Niger. Hello? Kano to Maradi. Then Port Harcourt to Maiduguri and the deep sea port. Any guarantee that in the life of this administration, any of these projects will be completed? Or is there any one of them that you can confidently say will be delivered at this time before the end of the administration?
I'm not in a position to say that for now. It's a function of money, actually. Once we once we have a financial close for all of them, we'll put pressure on them. For instance, all the contracts are to be completed in 3 years. But what we need to do is to put as much pressure as we can on the contractors to ensure that we start simultaneously at different points that we can complete at the same time. If we do that at the same time, we may complete in 2 years. But if we can't, for Christ's sake, government is a continuum. We don't have to be there to commission the project. What is critical and important to the president is not about the history of who started it. It's about ensuring that there is economic growth in the country, there's an opportunity for the ordinary Nigerians to have employment, and then once he achieves that, he has achieved his goal, his lifetime, part of his lifetime ambition, which is to aid the poor.
Well, the problems with road freight are legion. What are your plans to either encourage or compel, if necessary, users to use the railways once they're built and stop using the roads or stop relying solely on the roads?
No, nobody will compel them, because first, road transportation, in comparison to railway transportation, you will know that the railway transportation will be cheaper. So businessmen who do business will naturally want to use the railway transportation as a way of saving money. That's one. Two, the Ministry of Works has already declared the number of, or the quantity of tonnages that can go on our roads. All we do is apply that. You can't go you can't use the road if you carry up this a higher tonnage than what the law requires you to carry. It means that the rest cargoes that are heavier that cannot be applied on the roads will be transported through the railway.
Right. I want to congratulate you on the completion of Lagos to Ibadan Rail, but I want to ask, when is it going to start? We ought to have permissioned that, but I think COVID and the likes. And also want to ask a particular question. And correct me if I'm wrong, Minister, you have all the facts. It terminates before, just as you get into Ibadan. But I remember, because I had taken trains across that line back in the days, that there used to be a station in Dugbe, a railway station in Dugbe, which was a major railway station. And that was just into the Ibadan business district, where you had Cocoa House and other areas. But this new rail line, I'm not sure it gets up to that station, because I know there was a station that went through Akpata and it went down through the NNPC depot and it just went down like that into Dugbe. I mean, what happened to lines like that in all of these grants? Because that's really very strategic, you know, to Ibadan. So I want the facts on that, sir.
Now you're talking about the narrow gauge.
Yeah.
The standard gauge is completely outside Ibadan. In fact, we've gotten to the last station is at the end of Ibadan. The first station in Ibadan is at Omiadio.
Okay.
And the second station in Ibadan is at. The second one is I've forgotten the name, but the last community outside Ibadan. And it has nothing to do with the narrow gauge. So all those stations you're talking about have to do with the narrow gauge. This one is straight from Lagos through Abeokuta and then to Ibadan. The stations that you will see on this track, there is one in Omiadio, there's one at Olodo, there's one at, after Olodo is Abeokuta, after Abeokuta is Papalanto, after Papalanto is, I think, Kajuala, then Abado, and then Agege, and then I think Ebutemeta. Then Apapa, there's one at Apapa too. But I continue to forget the main station in Ibadan.
Confirm to me
where it is located.
I want you to confirm to me. So, are the narrow gauges now being serviced?
The biggest station is at Monia.
Monia,
it's called Monia also.
So, are the narrow gauge now being serviced? Because we've been able to there's a standard gauge and there's a narrow gauge. That narrow gauge too is quite very integral because I want to see a lot of trains still go through that Dugbe train station and the likes. So, are the narrow gauge now being worked on too? Because they've been really in poor shape over the years.
I thought that you pressmen are accusing us of borrowing too much money. Where will we get the money to rehabilitate the narrow gauge? We can only rehabilitate the narrow gauge if anybody comes up with a PPP arrangement that will do a rehabilitation of the narrow gauge from Lagos to Kano. We'll be glad to go into such arrangement with anybody who can do a PPP. For now, the concession of the federal government is to, I'll come back to you, but check even the Port Harcourt Maiduguri. The narrow gauge we're reconstructing in Port Harcourt Maiduguri is a temporary measure. We still have on our table an approval by the president that we should seek for fund to construct a standard gauge from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, following the same track or the same route that we have followed. So for us, now the Lagos Kano narrow gauge will only be reconstructed if there is any investor who want to go into a PPP arrangement. If not, what is critical to the federal government now is how to build the narrow gauge from Lagos to Kano, which will be useful to the movement, to the growth and movement of our economy.
Well, very quickly, Honorable Minister, sometime in February, CCECC, the company working on the Lagos-Ibadan rail line, said that they had managed to connect Lagos-Ibadan rail line to the Apapa port. Now, what is the situation with that? Because the expectation is that if that connection is established, then, of course, we'll have a way of addressing the challenge of congestion at the Apapa port.
We're at the seaport now. We're at the seaport. The problem we have, and I thank the CG Customs who is helping to address it. There's a custom shade which has a scanner, and you can't move that scanner until you deal with the issue of atomic energy. So we're doing everything to see how to get the CG and Customs and the Ministry of Transport are working with the Nigerian Energy Regulatory Authority to see how to move that scan. The moment we move that scan, we'll continue to the quay of the seaport so that people can put in their cargo right from the quay straight to wherever they're heading to. But are we at the seaport? The answer is yes. Are we at the key point? The answer is no. And we believe we can get there in the next few weeks once we remove the scanner that is prohibiting the construction or causing a challenge in the construction into the seaport.
What is the status of the Deep Blue project, whose aim is to bolster security, in the fight against pirates?
Well, There's now an improvement. The first thing we did in the course of the Deep Blue project is to fight the rent culture, the huge interest. There's still huge interest. You don't believe that the fight is over. But the first fight has now enabled government to say, look, you must complete this project. So all the security architecture that you need to get the project going are on ground. They are all on ground. You have the 3 aircrafts, you have the 3 helicopters, you have the 2 fixed-wing plane, you have the 19 vessels, you have the 2 ships, you have everything on ground, just everything you need. But those who do business in the water, who benefit from insecurity, we are making it difficult for the project to continue. Now, when the project continues, it will become difficult for anybody to say they are providing security, they are helping Navy with providing them with vessels and all that, because we have all the vessels, we have all the infrastructure that we need to provide security from the beginning of our water to the end of our water. So it's important that the pressmen join us in this fight, because as soon as we launch, which will be very, very soon, in fact, I was to do the launching tomorrow, it may likely be postponed. We're going to launch as soon as possible, maybe at the end of this month. And once we launch, it's a gradual process. It won't be easy to fight the pirates, but at least you will see the water from beginning to the end in real time. That's critical, and that should be able to provide security, because it's a bit embarrassing, and it has made it difficult for me to attend any maritime meeting outside Nigeria, that they continue to say that Nigeria is the #1 country in piracy in the world. Before, it used to be, well, instead of calling Nigeria, they say the Gulf of Guinea. Before, it used to be it used to be Somalia, and then Gulf of Eden. Now it's Nigeria, and we have been there for such a long time that the Nigerian government needs to resolve this crisis. The reason why we've not gone out of it is because there are people who are benefiting from it. There are those providing an NPC with vessels, and then they create it with Navy, and they get their money every week. They get billions of dollars in years and all that. Those are the people who are fighting. And you think it will be easy? It will not be easy.
Right. I want to talk about cost modeling. Yeah, you've got those rail lines out, but definitely over the years they have to make money back. When you churned out the prices, or when they were talk about the prices for the Lagos-Ibadan route, for instance, a lot of people, raised eyebrow that it was a little too expensive for them. And the Kaduna-Abuja route, despite the fact that the cost, I still hear that it has to be subsidized, to some certain extent to ensure functionality. So I want to ask you, what's the modeling behind the cost, getting on a train in Nigeria? And in how many years are we going to be able to, recoup the investment with the cost that I paid for it? And Honorable Musa, you were seen in Taraba the other day. Might you be running for president? Because when we see everybody anywhere these days, we think they might just be gunning for the top job.
I wish you didn't ask this question. I'm getting a bit tired. It was also this day that I made that report. I can't go for a wedding. Senator Tutere's daughter was wedding, and I went with him to Taraba for the wedding. At the end of the wedding, in 15, 20 minutes, I was out of Taraba. Mischievously, they reported that I went to campaign. Campaign to do what? The election is about 2 years plus away. Am I that rich, even if I have an ambition? But first, I've told you, can people allow me to do my work? I'm the Minister for Transport, and that's my responsibility. Nobody should be talking to me about politics. That's why I've said on several occasions that I'm not a politician. Please allow me to do my work. I need to, like you said, my hands are full. Okay, so I need to deliver, and I want to make sure that I deliver within the period we're in government. So I need to deliver Kano to Maradi. It's not going to be easy, man. I have to really travel from Abuja to Kano, and I have to inspect what they are doing every week to make sure that we get to the point we have to get. I have to deliver Lagos, Calabar. Nobody has mentioned it, but we are getting to it. We are working on the funding. Once we get the funding, we'll do groundbreaking. I have to deliver that. I have to deliver Port Harcourt, Maiduguri, right? And don't forget, within the first tenure of our government, we delivered, what's it called? We delivered Itabeto-Warri. We delivered Lagos to Ibadan. We completed the Kaduna-Abuja, which was started by President Goodluck Jonathan's government. Now, if we must deliver this, why should I combine it with politics, for Christ's sake? I've been a politician all my life in the past, but now I'm out of it. I'm just focusing on transportation. You talked about the pricing. I don't know if you're reading the tweets that the passengers that are using the Itabeto-Warri are making. Just look at one of the tweets that I read. They say it takes 60,000 by plane to come from Benin to Abuja. But if you enter a train at Warri, it's 2,500 to Itabe. And that 3,000 naira transport from Itabe to Abuja, that makes you 6,000 naira. That's all you spend to get to Abuja. In comparison to 20,000 naira that you have to pay if you go by bus from either Warri or Benin to Abuja. Is that not cheap? Is that not subsidized? 2,500. You have air-conditioned coaches. You have security. There are armed policemen in the train. Nobody will stop you on the road to ask the driver, where are you heading to? Why haven't I want to check your boot? There are no boots to check. No checkpoints on the listen. You have the time you will waste going to Abuja. You will arrive if you go by road at night, but you are sure to arrive in less than 6 to 7 hours if you join our train. That's one. You talked about the cost of this in
Lagos Ibadan.
Transportation from Lagos to Ibadan.
Yeah.
Have you compared how much pounds it costs you to go from Victoria Station to Leeds? Or whatever, I've got the station now that will take you to Leeds. Because these are not internal transportation. They are from one state to the other. And you're charged 2,500 to get to Ibadan. Haba. Let me speak as a Nigerian. Haba.
But the buses are charging 1,800. That's what the buses are charging. And once you complete the expressway in 2022, a lot of people will go for the buses.
You may be correct. They can go ahead. The rail line is not meant for passengers alone. What is important for us in the rail line is the cargo. So if it is cheaper to use the buses or to use the road, I encourage them to do that.
Well, Honorable Minister, I understand your concern about discussing politics, but at least it's good that you know that some people think that you seem to be interested in the politics of 2023. I've even had people telling me that you've been wearing Isiagu a lot these days, and that's a way of identifying with the people. But let's leave that, since you've already dealt with that issue. Now, quickly, the back and forth.
Ruben, you're just being mischievous. Ruben, you're just
somebody actually told me that
I have finished addressing the issue. You brought it back to call attention. Ruben, I wear Ishiago because it's one of the easiest clothes to wear if I don't have to iron. I iron by myself. Now I'm wearing a three-piece suit. It took me nearly 15 to 20 minutes to complete the ironing. But if I want to go to anywhere I want to go and I'm running late on time, I put on my Ishiago clothes. But by the way, I don't owe anybody an explanation. I have a right to wear whatever I want to wear. I can even tie a wrapper. It doesn't really matter.
Anyway, I was going to ask you about this back and forth between you and the governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike. After the groundbreaking ceremony, he made the statement that the project is, your projects are politically motivated. And then I think on one occasion you responded and you were alleged to have referred to him as a drunk. And he has responded again that
I didn't say that. That would be, no, Ruben, that would be disrespectful of a governor. I didn't say that. I only say that I make sense when I talk because I don't take alcohol. That's all I said. I didn't say my governor is a drunk. That would be disrespectful to the governor.
Maybe the innuendo.
No matter what happens, you must realize that. I don't know what you mean by the innuendo. You can, I read literature, so you can do as much as you want in attaching meaning to whatever I have said. Well, I don't think I want to address the issue of the governor. I've made my point. I've moved on. I don't have to. You see, he was my staff. Don't forget that. I can't bring myself low to be. I was once a governor. I was once a speaker. I'm a minister. I've been two-time chairman of Governors Forum. The same with speaker. Why should I be discussing things that human people? Please, Ruben, please, can you ask any other question you want to ask? And I've told you, can we please concentrate on transportation? Leave me out of politics. If not, I will stop coming for interviews.
Okay, moving swiftly on that note, how much is your sector contributing to the national GDP? Where are you regarding your targets that you have, and how has the pandemic affected your targets or your performance?
I don't know whether the report from statistics, Bureau for Statistics was about 3% or so. I just think so. We've grown from 1% to about 3%. That's what I think. Do I have a target? What is the target? The target we have in the Ministry of Transport is to first and foremost complete the construction of this infrastructure. When you complete the construction of this infrastructure, those who use it will grow the contribution of transportation to the growth of the economy. At that point, you begin to talk about what is the percentage contribution and all that. That's not the focus of the ministry now. The focus of the ministry is to do this construction, create employment, and make logistics available to Nigerian businessmen and other Nigerians who will use this infrastructure.
All right, real quickly, I know the Lagos-Ibadan rail line also have been opened, but I think because of COVID it was postponed. When are we going to have that final grand opening? Secondly, you know, the Kano to Maradi line has been causing a lot of stir. You know, a lot of people are saying, why Maradi? Why all the way to Niger? I mean, there's been arguments about Africa trade and some other things like that. But I want to just know the cost-benefit analysis for doing that rail line to Maradi. What will it, you know, benefit us as a country? Monetary terms.
There was a young guy in his tweet that nearly called me an illiterate. He felt that the explanation I gave does not make any economic sense. Maybe I need to repeat it now. So the so-called man who thinks okay, let me quote some people in River State, erudite in economics, can listen to me very well. Now, let me talk about the Lagos-Ibadan. That will be dependent on the president, because I'm trying to push hard for the president to come physically to commission that project, because I want him to realize that it was in his regime that, if nothing else, a Bute Metta train station was constructed. And I'm yet to see any iconic building like the train station in the Bute Metta. So I still need the president's permission to go ahead. And the implication is that once he gives a go-ahead, he will physically come. He will be present at Bute Metta to commission the project, and then he can go back to Abuja. And that will be very, very soon. I'm trying to engage the president this week in that regard. Once he gives us approval that he will be present in person, then we'll fix a date and move on from there. You talked about, and I'm tired of explaining this. In my younger days, when I was the governor, I would have told you, okay, I don't want to explain again. But now, maturity and the fact that I know that I owe the people all the necessary explanation to convince them on why we had to make that investment. The first premise to start from is that my wife, neither my wife nor that of the president, come from Niger Republic. My wife is from Anambra. And I'm not on any railway to my wife's hometown or to Anambra State that will make my in-laws think I'm a good husband. So it's not about, there are no jokes about this. It is honestly, seriously speaking, it has to do with economics. First, that project is an ECOWAS project. It's a contribution by Nigeria to the ECOWAS rail line. Whether we like it or not, we will still have done it if we claim to be members of ECOWAS. That's one. The second one is that I agree completely with the government of President Goodluck Jonathan. They did the feasibility studies and agreed that there was a need to construct that rail line. When I came into government, I met the feasibility studies, I read the feasibility studies, and I agreed that it makes a lot of economic sense if we invested in that. What are those economic sense that it makes? I had a meeting with the Prime Minister of Niger Republic, trying to say to them, we are ready to we'll stop at Jibia. Okay, so if we stopped at Jibia, what noise would it make? The reason why we didn't stop at Jibia is that you just go 20 kilometers into Niger, just 20, 25 kilometers into Niger. In 20, 25 kilometers, you get to Maradi. How much is 20 kilometers of rail? Maybe $100 million. That's maybe 100 or 200. You can't even get to $200 million. Now, the reason for going into Maradi is we are trying to get the Niger Republic government to agree with us, and they have promised to do that. And we will have to put it in writing because we have to reach a contract agreement that their national cargoes will go through our rail track. The implication of business coming from not just Niger, but any of those landlocked countries using our rail line is that business will thrive, both in Kano and in Abuja, and will create jobs. Imagine how many persons that will use our seaports. Imagine how much taxes that they will have to pay. Imagine the hotels that they will use. Imagine other things, other businesses that they will do in Lagos or they will do in Kano. Just imagine that. That's one reason. Because you would then create employment for people and generate the capacity to be able to, even if we don't pay back, to contribute in the process of paying back the loan that has been taken. That's one. Two is a more political one. For Christ's sake, that is our contribution to ECOWAS decision, which was reached by all the heads of state. That's another reason. But prominent and most importantly to us is the economic contribution that it makes to the growth of our economy. And imagine if other countries join Niger to use it. We are not competing favorably with Benin Republic, Ghana, and Togo. Because to them, why no country wants to use our seaport is because in transporting goods from say, Niger Republic into Apapa seaport, they will confront police checkpoints. They say even the communities have their own checkpoints. They say they encounter criminals. There are immigration checkpoints, police, everything. And so the cost of doing business through Nigeria is by far more expensive than the cost of doing business in Benin Republic or Togo or Ghana. So what we've done now is to provide for them a cheaper means of doing business in comparison to the other countries. Because the moment your cargo enters into our track, it's straight to Lagos. All you need to do is just receive it in Lagos at the seaport and transport it either in or out of Lagos. If it is in, you are exporting. If it's out, as soon as you put your cargo on the track at the Apapa seaport, it gets you straight to Maradi. And anybody who is from Niger Republic can clear at Maradi. That's what we've done.
Well, Honorable Minister, in terms of revenue generation, how profitable is the Abuja-Kaduna rail line? I know you've talked about this, but one response is that unless the federal government optimizes that Abuja-Kaduna line, it really cannot make much money from it. And then what is being done about the challenge of security along that rail line?
What do you mean by optimization?
Well, further extension of it. But my interest is basically revenue.
That won't be the end now. With the Ibadan Kano, we start from Ibadan. But Ibadan Kano will join Lagos Ibadan. And if it does, it will take you from Lagos Ibadan up to Abuja and up to Kano. So that's not a problem. It will certainly be done this year. Now, in terms of revenue, before we introduced the electronic system, we were making about between 70 and 90 million naira as profit. I don't call it profit because it's after the cost of operation has been deducted from whatever they generate. So what is usually left between 70 and 90 million naira. Now, after the introduction of electronic ticketing, we are generating about 120 million naira. So there's huge benefit in introducing electronic ticketing, and it means that in less than 1 or 2 years, we'll be able to pay back the company that funded the electronic ticketing. So we are making profit. Have we broken even? The answer we know. But do they pay back loans from the revenue generated from railway? The answer is no. The government will actually find another source to pay back their revenue. And I've said to Nigerians, out of $500 million that was borrowed by President Goodluck Jonathan's government to fund that railway, we have been able to pay back over $100 million.
Right, real quickly, sir, I just want to ask, please clarify for me, is the government still paying anything, sort of like a subvention to that Kaduna-Abuja rail line to be able to support the operations of that rail line? Is there like a subsidy on it, or is just what is made from the passengers that is used to service the rail line and you get a return on it?
Exactly. And if you listen to me, I said when you deduct operation cost, what used to be remaining in the past was about between 70 and 90 million. With the introduction of the what they call it, electronic ticketing, you now have 120 million. The implication is that we don't fund them anymore. The running cost is gotten from the revenue from the ticketing.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your time, my Honorable Minister. We've been talking to Honorable Minister Rotimi Amaechi, Minister for Transport.